Okay, what's up, y'all? What's up? What's up, y'all? What's up? Excuse me, Dante. Dropping into the frame, doing it as we do. For some reason, that's what we do. Hi, Dante. You're so excited. What's up, y'all? I just want to talk to you, so I will. Dante. I just want to make it clear what we're really doing here. I'm not in it to be switching gears. I'm gonna be doing the same things, and they may seem to be crazy to the other human beings. Anyway, yeah, so there you go. Red the guitar. Red the guitar. Little Johnson JG 610R, 3/4 size. This is Dante, my standard poodle. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. This is one of our fourths In the Image Clothing Company podcast, where we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. This is episode 203, titled For the Planet. What do you think, Dante? You're so good. All right, let's get into this, because we do a lot of things. Oh, shoot, I hit him right in the face. Oh, my gosh. Did you just get smacked right in the muzzle? Not really. Just kind of tapped him. Smacked him harder than that for the sake of disciplinary actions. In all truth, yeah, okay. Much harder than that, just to be transparent. What I'm saying is, for the planet, okay? The gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things. We're all human beings, the same thing placed on the same earth, designed by the same God. There's just truth to all this. It's going on. And that in itself is just truth, by the way. Measuring Truth is episode 200 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. That's the title. So Dante loves me, and I love that. Well, I love Dante regardless. But it's a good mutual love we share. Okay. We have a planet. It's Earth. This is the planet Earth, Dante. This is where we both are. We're on the planet Earth. We're on planet Earth, both of us. And the rest of you, too, that are here. So, for the planet, okay, let's talk about it. I just, the little message that I played there with Red the guitar, or I guess the message that I said as I played Red the guitar. He's got nylon strings on him, by the way. It's a steel string guitar, but I do crazy things with nylon strings. I'm Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Anyway, the big point that I'm making with the planet is that we have one, and we only have one. Planet Earth, okay? We're all on the same Earth. I talk about Earth's gravity so often, okay? We discuss how we have to deal with it. There's a lot of stuff we talk about. There's a lot of things we discuss with Earth's gravity, in all seriousness. Oh, so many videos on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company where we allow the human body to work, okay, through anything that clothes it. Clothing, sure, pants, tops, shoes, but, glasses, jewelry, anything placed onto the body. Standing, sitting, walking, eating, breathing, sleeping, hydration. We discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth. We just allow it to work, okay? We speak out of personal experience, trial and error, prayer and revelation. We preach what we have practiced. We do it as we do, In the Image Clothing Company style, blunt, bold, raw, and real. There's a lot of stuff that we do. Good. You are good. You are a good dog. You are such a good dog. It's kind of crazy. Okay, you are awesome. And you smell good, too, because I gave him a shower today, just a few hours ago, and he sits on my leg. I just say it because my leg's not on the ground, and it was, moving after he sat down. All right. In the Image Clothing Company podcast, we've been doing this for 202 episodes. This is the 203rd. I might have said 202nd earlier, but this is the 203rd episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. For the Planet is its title, like I'm saying. We allow the dogs to work, essentially. Letting dogs stay natural is the slogan on In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, another one of our fourths. And we do the same thing we do for human beings on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. Collars, leashes, and harnesses, things like that placed onto dogs. Bandanas. Bandanas are great, okay, for information on the dogs, keeping them centered, light, and minimal. We have to just allow the dogs to be unaltered, like we allow our bodies to be unaltered as human beings. There's a center line, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. The jaw stabilizes the entire body. It's got to stay centered on Earth's gravity. Feet oppose the center line at our base foundation, gripping arches inward and keeping us vertical. So Earth, that's what I'm saying. We talk about Earth a lot. The planet we have. There's episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled, well, certain things about the Earth. We didn't design it. We can't decide it. That episode was actually mostly about the planet, Earth, and how we're all here. So please don't mess it up thinking you can do whatever you want, because it affects everybody else who's here as well, including Dante. He doesn't have a say in it. We have no say. An episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Anyway, yeah, the planet Earth, we only have one of them, and we got to take care of it. But there's a lot of things we do, like living up. He just strummed the guitar strings with his tail as he shook. Well, Dante, you played the guitar there for, a strum or two at least. Wow, good job. We live up Utah. As in the Image Clothing Company, we do so much in nature. Things like poodle parade events in the Image Clothing Company poodles. Bring your poodles, purebred of any size, or mixed poodles of any size. We'll get people into nature and dogs into nature. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled An Intro to Poodle Parade Events, okay? And we haven't had any yet as of today's date, the 13th of January, 2026, and so I can't guarantee what they'll look like, but I've talked about them a lot. We're planning things, we're doing things as we do things. We're praying to God is what we're doing. We're all designed in the image of God, Jesus Christ, okay? Designed our bodies. Jesus Christ is God, an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Don't believe me, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, or anyone at our team, including the poodles, but human being team members too, right? Don't believe us. Truth is truth. So we're doing all we can as human beings to align our lives with truth, and we want them to go well. And the truth is, there's only one planet, Earth. We got to take care of it. Under In the Image Clothing Company, 1/4 of us in the Image Clothing Company poodles. Subcategories are poodle parade events titled Clean the Creek, poodle parade events. Rid the Rubbish, poodle parade events. And we'll do things for the environment, picking up trash. And as we live up Utah, we really do so much for this beautiful state. There is an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Utah. Okay. Within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a lot of the church history is in Utah, the state in the United States of America. I'm Utah native, Evan Strong, the founder in this for life to lead in the Image Clothing Company. So we do a lot with Utah. It's so beautiful, diverse nature. It's crazy, seriously, how diverse Utah is. You can go like a half hour away from wherever you were, and it's almost like you're in an entirely different place. Like climate-wise, environment-wise, there's so much differences to different parts of Utah. So Dante and I will be moving down to St. George, Utah. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Welcome Home, St. George, Utah. I've been down there quite a few times throughout my life. Dante, I actually don't know if he has been, but I was there in November of 2025, just a couple months ago, give or take. And it's beautiful, okay? It's a true desert, red rock, sandstone, and beautiful. But, we'll span the state of Utah with all that we do. We'll go wherever we go as well, right? But Utah's the goal. Well, the goal, we're already here. But what I mean is the focus. Living up Utah, a lot of it's for the environment, okay? Truly for the environment, not just to experience the environment that Utah has, all the beautiful nature that exists here, but as in the Image Clothing Company, it's like what I've discussed, don't think that we've changed up as time progresses. We're coming up on 16 months into the founding of In the Image Clothing Company as of today's date, the 13th of January, 2026. But there's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled I Run a Clothing Company and Do Things with Dogs. Man, I don't know what else to really reference right now. If it comes to me, it comes to me throughout this, but I just know documented, date marked under what we call the gift of video. There's so many things we have spoken on under In the Image Clothing Company podcast's numbered episodes about the environment. Like, I've said similar things before. Like, don't be surprised if once we move down to St. George, Utah, we're doing things for, like, the overpopulation of ravens, the bird, that's currently happening, or if we're doing things for the tortoises or the turtles down there, or we're doing things for, nature reserves, or even like the native people, the indigenous people, the people who were here before, the people who are here. If we're doing this kind of stuff, don't think that we changed up, like started out as just some clothing company and then decided to do all this other stuff. Well, as of today's date, the 13th of January 2026, we still don't yet have any human being clothing or dog products available to even possibly purchase, okay? Do everything clothing, staying centered, fitting correct, being made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials to allow the body to work. Do everything dog products. We'll breed poodles to be do everything dogs, the poodles we choose, purebred standard poodles. A lot of it's to just show the health that comes from pure breeds and the importance of pure breeds, advocating for keeping less dogs in shelters and more dogs at homes. Letting dogs stay natural, well, it's for the health, okay? And there's a lot to it. So Dante's a very healthy dog, but he's a rescue. He wasn't one that we bred under In the Image Clothing Company poodles. But I love him. You can't quite see him right now in the frame, but he's so cute. I love you, Dante. And boy, do you know it. Anyway, for the planet, this episode 203 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, this is what I'm saying is, we are a clothing company, but the only reason we're a clothing company is to allow the body of the human being to work. Clothing is the only thing physically placed on us. Clothing is the only direct thing to address. You can do anything in your life, but there's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled The Only Thing That We Have, and it is our human bodies. Everything else can come and go. Our bodies are the only thing promised because our bodies are this physical life. Okay, when we get down to it, that's just how it is. So, Dante, I love you, buddy. You are just so awesome. He's so much more physically able to live. I've been his personal chiropractor. As the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, I know the anatomy of bodies. Okay, really. And Dante's had a lot of scar tissue and patterning, bone spurs. That's what we do on the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. We get out of chronic patterning through scar tissue and bone spurs built up in the body. When we place things on our bodies, like oversized clothing, imbalances of any kind in clothing, we give a lot of free modifications in clothing to allow the body to work. Ropes like drawstrings or shoelaces introduced to the body, anything tied one side over the other. There's a center line to the body. There's a center line to gravity. So we get into patterning with our bodies trying to work around things. The dogs do as well. Imbalanced, uncentered collars, leashes, harnesses, whatever it is. Feeding dogs at the height of their sternum, basically at their head height. So their head's at a neutral height is the point. At their sternum right there. Like at the shoulder blade height, basically, of the dog. Well, I'm trying to explain it if you don't know what a sternum is, but the sternum's that little point right in the front or the center of the dog below their throat. Same with us human beings, okay? Where the collarbones of the human being come in and connect. Dogs don't have collarbones. But, we just talk about a lot of things. That's why bandanas are so great instead of a collar. They're so light and thin. That's why slip leads are so great instead of a collar and a leash. They're so light, and the dog can be more obedient that way anyway. Okay, keeping clothing quiet. The importance of quiet clothing. A video under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company. Anyway, a lot of things for the environment, right? I don't want anybody, well, you can think whatever. I don't care, but on your end of things, I don't want anyone thinking that we, changed with the times and just went with the trends or something. No, the focus of In the Image Clothing Company, date marked and documented as of this episode 203 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, and before this as well, before we've ever had any products to sell clothing-wise, is what I'm saying. Our focus has always and is just what it is. We're not a clothing company for the sake of clothing. Definitely not a clothing company for the sake of fashion. But, sorry, buddy, I startled him. He didn't see me, and I just kind of pretty aggressively put my hand on his back. For the environment, a lot of it is for the environment, and we live up Utah. I love Utah, the state. It's funny, we were over at the church, we and the other human beings who were, Dante was, he was in the car in a crate, though, for a couple hours. Okay. Times and places. And that was the time that he was placed in a crate. Okay. I was talking to some people at Institute, right? Our weekly church class, but like during the week, we have Institute for the young single adults, is what they call it. Abbreviated, they call it the YSA in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I enjoy it. I love it. I love it so much. I was sitting there with some people and they fed us food afterward, right? We're sitting there eating food afterward, after the class we had. And so we were talking about places, some people were talking about how they've lived all over the place, and I was talking about how I've always lived in Utah. I'm Utah native. I'm Utah native. I love that because it's just such a beautiful thing to be able to say. Having a home that you know. I mean, a lot of people don't know where home is. That's fine. We have different kind of journeys in this life, but I do love Utah. And as I was driving home there from the church with Dante on my lap, I know that's, he was, though, while I was driving. There you go. Put the cuffs on, officer. It's illegal. I get it. I get it. I do get it. Dante's a good dog. I broke the law. What I'm saying is, I just want to be transparent because that's just came out and that's what happened. So there you go. That's what happens. He's just a good dog. I was thinking about, I've got some shirts that say things about Utah. I'm going to pull this off of here, okay? It's okay, Dante. He jumped because it landed on his back. It's okay. This shirt here, it says Moab, Utah, okay? Which is a town in Utah, Moab. Similar to St. George in a lot of ways. It's kind of southern Utah. It's more like southeast Utah and not all that south compared to St. George. St. George is the very southernmost part of Utah and then all the way over to the west side of Utah. This shirt here, it says St. George, Utah. I got this in St. George, Utah. Back in November 2025. Fish, ATV, camp, Jeep, it says on it. For those of you in audio only, okay, In the Image Clothing Company podcast is also available in visual plus audio. Okay. Anyway, the point is, wearing apparel that shows Utah. I keep branding out of things most always as the founder of a clothing company. I usually don't wear clothing with other brands logoing on it, and I'll have our team always do that because we always will do so much under the gift of video, okay? Copyright reasons, okay? Copyright infringement. You don't want to be infringing on people's copyrights. So it's my right to copy cats. I don't want to be a copycat. I want to do things the way I do things. I do things authentically. And what I'm saying is, I'm Utah native. I'm going to just wear Utah apparel where I do as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, just to kind of advocate for Utah, this beautiful state. People come from far and wide for whatever they come from far and wide for across the planet. But Utah is such a gem, if you will. It's such a beautiful place nature-wise. And there's some noise upstairs. If there's some noise in the mic, there you go. Okay. My mother actually currently lives upstairs. Well, I currently live downstairs here in my grandparents' house. Context. There you go. Context over content. Yes, context over content. That's an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, is why I said it like that. Okay. But yeah, we live up Utah, and we're going to always be doing so much for the planet under In the Image Clothing Company. Well, I don't mean to say it like we're just these saints. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but I'm not trying to claim to be like a saint and like just, someone who's just doing so much good for our planet. Why aren't you? That's not what I mean. But we all have to play our part. We're all here, and so it's good to have people advocating. We do so much advocating, right? For being a good owner of dogs, for example, we're just advocating on how to under In the Image Clothing Company poodles. We advocate for clothing fitting correct because you don't have to care, but it's altering your body otherwise. We live in a modern man-made world. A lot of unnatural, synthetic, artificial things in our clothing and our food that we interact with in life. Even if you don't care, it's damaging your body and our planet. So that's what I mean, is it's not about us. Well, that's what I say. It couldn't possibly be about us. We just discuss things that are apart from us when we're discussing truth. It's the same, right? God is the truth, the same yesterday, today, and forever. That's what we try to do, all that we can to do as In the Image Clothing Company, is gear everything we can around truth, unchanging things like the planet. We can't be changing things without the planet changing. He just whipped around and put his teeth around his tail. He's been chewing on his tail today. And I don't know why. Ooh, Dante. There's a bulge in his tail. Yikes. I'm squeezing it to see if he reacts. He's not reacting. It's probably fine. But when he shakes, like next to a wall, he'll just shake and his tail will slap against the wall. I wonder if he's had like a break in his tail at one point or something. It's not tender though. I'm squeezing it pretty firm to see if he'll react. Where it's bulging, part of the way down his tail is not, I don't know. It's not like really bulging. It's just not quite smooth. There's a part that's wider there. You okay? He's okay, I guess. Huh. Dogs' tails, they get slammed in doors or stepped on or whatever. Dante was, and still is, right around 2 years old, coming up on 2 years, give or take. I adopted him from the South Utah Valley Animal Shelter only a little over a month ago as of today's date, the 13th of January 2026. So I don't know what his life was like exactly, before I adopted him, but he's healthy. He just might have a break in his tail maybe that's healed or something. I don't know. But it's not tender enough for him to like even move when I'm, putting pressure on it. So he's fine. You're a good boy. I didn't notice that. Never. I haven't noticed that is what I mean until now. But yeah, just the planet Earth, it's something we got to take care of. And what I'm saying is, it's not just like we're going to be out there doing all these huge movements and like, well, for the sake of people seeing. If we do really big movements, we do big movements, as in the Image Clothing Company, and the companies we work with and stuff, it'll be similar people with similar values and intentions. Okay, everything we do is geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ designed the planet and us in his image. It's just what it is. What I'm saying is that it's not like we're trying to be some heroes, like trying to save the planet so that we get people looking at us good, like we're doing such good things. I'm gonna turn this lamp on. I'm gonna stand up for a second. Just be a little bit better lighting in here. The point is, I normally turn that on before I sit down to start the episode. Good boy, Dante. One day Dante will die. We'll have a lot of poodles under In the Image Clothing Company poodles, but we'll love all of them like they're only one, right? Like God does for us. That's ridiculous because that's the truth. What I'm saying is, I love Dante. What I'm also saying is, the earth, we love the planet if you love the planet. Because that's the thing, living up Utah, that's what we're living up Utah for. Besides, other things that aren't directly the environment, like church history or whatever else, it comes to being that we could label as us living up Utah as In the Image Clothing Company. Really the reason is because the beautiful nature, okay? And anyway, it's not only us out there like doing things for the environment, like clean the creek or rid the rubbish, poodle parade event type things that we will do. It's just things in our daily lives like doing all we can. I've discussed this, in previous episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast before today's date. Yeah, right. Just minimizing what we use. What I've discussed before today's date is what I mean on In the Image Clothing Company podcast is how we'll always have In the Image Clothing Company's team. In our building down in St. George, Utah, we'll have our building where we breed our poodles, where we ship our products out of, where we do things under video in the gift of video, right? We won't have a store as In the Image Clothing Company. That's not how we're going to do it in modern day. That just isn't needed to be able to sell things. And as In the Image Clothing Company, that's definitely not how we are approaching selling clothing or dog products or any products we ever sell. But we will have a building down there in St. George, Utah for us to do what we do in and out of. And we have to have a place to house the poodles. That's a big point. And then, collaborations with whoever we have them with. We'll have a solid building. And the team will have a good place to be when they're working and doing what they're doing. And it'll be kind of like our central place down there, St. George, Utah. I say down there, we're in Utah County, about 3.5 hours drive north from St. George, Utah right now, Dante and I. So what I'm saying is just in daily life, minimizing what we use disposable product wise, so we're not just like filling the land with landfills. Do you see what I mean? The literal wording. A lot of people don't see that it's just literal. The gospel of Jesus Christ, the good news of God. The good news is that God created this planet for us. And shout out to indoor plumbing. I kind of have to shout because of the indoor plumbing, is what I mean. That's fine. I'm just saying. I get it. That's what I mean. Blunt, bold, raw, and real. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled The Wind Noise. It's natural to have just surrounding sounds as if you were actually here with us. Do you see how we do these things? Just authentically. We're trying to do everything we can to be permanent, eternal. Just meaning stuff that's not only valid to a time period. And like this, for the planet. The thing is, the planet's not just ours, for our time period. The planet's our children's and our children's children and our children's great-great-grandchildren's children and their kids, and everyone else too. It's the planet that we have, and there's only one of them that's called Earth, as far as I know. Anyway. For the planet. What I mean is, yeah, we are a clothing company, but it doesn't matter. It's like how I say, we discuss universal, unchanging truth that applies to every body who has one or everyone who has a body, but don't believe us. See what I mean? What I mean is, it's just what it is. Truth is truth, and the truth is, we have just the planet we have. Let's just take care of it. It's not like we got to make some kind of big old fuss about it. Go out there with, signs and protest. It's just that, let's be intentional, otherwise we're unintentional. If you're not living an intentional life, life will live you, basically. Okay? So, if you want to actually live your life, you got to have a planet to do it on. So, for the planet, that's what I mean, that is a lot of what I was saying in that episode, and that was months ago. I mean, probably close to a year ago, give or take. From today's date, the 13th of January, 2026, the episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled, We Didn't Design It, We Can't Decide It. We just can't decide how things work. We can't decide to just throw things away and just pollute the planet when we have to have the planet unpolluted to live, right? So for the planet, we'll just do a lot of things for the planet. And, I know that a lot of people jump on some kind of, you can call it a bandwagon. That's just a term that gets used. A lot of people just kind of start doing things because other people were doing things. We're trying to do everything authentically, okay? So we're not trying at all. We're just doing things as In the Image Clothing Company. That's how it's authentic. Do you see what I'm saying? Because you do something that you just do. You try to do something, you're not just doing it. You're trying to do it. And just live your life. Just pray to God and just follow the promptings. Follow the guidance Jesus Christ gives you. That's what we're doing. That's what we're focused on. Geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ. As disciples of Jesus Christ, that's what we do. Followers of Jesus Christ. We follow the way he wants us to take care of the things he gave us. The human body's a temple, for example. That's how God describes it. The body of our bodies. Yeah, that's hard-hitting. Our bodies are like a temple, Our bodies are a temple. We need to treat our bodies the way we treat a temple. Keep it, nice. The planet's the same way, in a sense. The planet's our temple. If we can see it like that, that's what I mean, because we got to take care of it, otherwise we don't. Your body, you either take care of it or you don't. You cause irreversible damage. And we do, as human beings. We've discussed a lot of this under In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Just one of our four is under In the Image Clothing Company, many times before today's date. And so, yeah, there's just, only one way the human body could ever work. There's only one way the planet works. There's only one balance to things. There's opposition in all things, like we say. Light because there's dark, warmth because there's cold, pulling muscles to close a hinge joint because we can pull muscles to extend a hinge joint in the body, okay? Anyway, that's what I'm saying with the planet, is it's just we got to take care of it. We really do, and I want to make the focus clear where the focus is put. I want to make it clear where we put the focus, because we're focusing a lot on the state of Utah under In the Image Clothing Company. Utah can become a very tourist place in parts of it because it's so beautiful. People come from all over to see things that you can't see anywhere else. Okay? And a lot of that in and around St. George, Utah, where we'll be based, and then just spanning the whole state of Utah with what we do as In the Image Clothing Company with Living Up Utah. It's only going to be how it is if we leave it how it is. If we graffiti things, if we pollute it with synthetic things, if we just drop trash and litter on the ground, if we ruin the balance of the ecosystem, there won't be an ecosystem that works balanced, okay? And so for the planet, that is a lot of what we will do under In the Image Clothing Company, even if that's just inside of our own building. Okay, being very intentional with the amount of stuff we use, man. Minimal, light, simplistic, right? These are our focuses, our values as In the Image Clothing Company, and it has been since the very start. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Minimalism. Okay. And that was a while ago, date marked, but it was when it was. And that's what I'm saying. It's just we're not doing things differently than we have been. A lot of people probably don't know what we are, though, which is understandable with our 5-word company name being In the Image Clothing Company. And we're breeding purebred standard poodles. We're doing things for the health of the environment. We discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth, the way that a physical therapist or a chiropractor would. And that's really what we do. Like I said, I'm Dante's chiropractor personally. That's really how you would label what I've done for him physically. As the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, that 5-word name doesn't really explain what we do, which is fine. But I just understand that you might not know, right? Which is great. That's how it'll always be until you know. You hear that company name, and most people probably aren't going to have much of an idea of what we really do. We do, well, we will. We do, but as of today's date, not yet, right? Sell clothing. Yeah, we're a clothing company. We really are, certainly. But there's just so much more to it. And clothing is almost like a secondary thing to all the other things we do, as In the Image Clothing Company. If we never wore clothing as human beings, we'd still be able to allow the body to work. If we never put products on our dogs, we could still let our dogs stay natural, right? Products that we could call clothing is the point. If we never had clothing or dog products or any products we ever sell under In the Image Clothing Company, we could still do things for the environment of our planet. We could still have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ under In the Image Clothing Company podcast. We could still make music under In the Image Clothing Company music, another one of our fourths, where we do rhythm and poetry, lyricism, spoken word, singing, guitar playing, geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ. We show sizing and setup of guitar to not alter the body, things like the neutral wrist, okay, straight out from that pinky finger, and the rounding in the hand or the hand arches, that open palm, if you will, that correlates with the arches in the feet. It can't be there unless the feet arches are. So if we alter our feet, we alter our hands, okay, allowing the body to work. It comes through music. It comes through poodles. It comes through understanding where our bodies came from, being designed by Jesus Christ, our living God. This is what I'm saying, so for the planet, a lot of what we always will do as In the Image Clothing Company is for the planet. And not that we'll put like a higher focus on Utah than any other part of the planet, but with us living up Utah and being physically based in the state of Utah as In the Image Clothing Company and having this beautiful state be our home and our focus, yeah, we'll do a lot for the state of Utah, for the planet. The state of Utah didn't exist at one point as it does nowadays. If you can see what I mean, doing things that are eternal, that's what I'm saying. It's just for the planet. There's no real borders of Utah. There's no real property lines that exist because at one point they weren't the same as they are now. And one point going forth, they probably will change again. It's just the planet. Do you see what I'm saying? Universal truth, unchanging things, dude. Anyway, yeah, that's the point. That's the point. Man, I ate a fast food burrito. Not something I would normally eat. I'm vegetarian, so it was bean and cheese with rice. But over there at Institute, I did eat that. And, yeah, times and places. Like I'm saying, putting Dante in a crate. Times and places that it's okay. That otherwise, maybe you wouldn't be doing something like that, But it just is what it is what I'm saying. I'm just commenting on it because, yeah, it's not something I would normally eat. Allowing the body to work. We just talk about eating natural. Like I was saying, synthetic, artificial, synthetic, and unnatural, and then synthetic again. A lot of this stuff is in the labeling of our food. It's not like it's hidden, like you don't know what's going on. If you want to find out, you can, We don't know what we don't know. You can't be held accountable for what you don't know, but it's written on your food packaging. If you purchase food other people have made and packaged to sell, legally it has to be, at least here in the United States of America in 2026. All right. So allowing the body to work, yeah, it comes through all these other ways, right? Like eating as much as it comes through clothing, but you're eating with clothing on almost always. So The body's about a positioning, the skeletal frame, and then the musculature just pulls the bones in line, connecting to them through tendons, at the endpoints, at their insertions. They only pull together directly, right? The human body only pulls. It's a video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. They're just opposing muscles, like I was saying earlier. Pulling to close a hinge or pulling to open a hinge is the same thing. You're just pulling. Something like the elbow, for example. The biceps pull to close it. The triceps on the backside pull to open it. So there's just a neutral position to everything in the body. So with the earth, we got to help it. Really, we just don't have to. We just can't hurt it. I mean, that's the point. We never have to help the planet. If there's no human beings on the planet, we'd never have to help the planet. The planet Earth, it has its balance. It just does. Nothing really alters that balance except for human beings. Okay? At least not quite the same way, because even natural disasters, natural disasters, unnatural, artificial, synthetic, that's a disaster. That's a human being doing those things. Do you see where we're dwelling? Stand in a holy place and be not moved, even if the ground's shaking underneath you, But what we don't want to do is alter the planet, and that's just the case. That's what I'm saying. So for the planet, we'll do a lot for the planet, Earth, under In The Image Clothing Company. So many places that people go to, that they see some beautiful nature. It's only that way if it's that way, meaning if it's unaltered by human beings. And so once you alter something, it's just never quite the same again. Reshaping bones, a video Dante and I filmed under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company yesterday. We can reshape bones in the body only back to their only normal. We discussed the human body's only normal, right? It's a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company, but also it's just the case. The human body's normal resting heart rate, resting breath per minute, or respiratory rate. The temperature of the human body. The same with the dogs and most all animals, right? There's just what I mean by most all animals is our information on letting dogs stay natural under In The Image Clothing Company poodles applies to most all animals across the earth, okay? Most all of our information applies to most all of the animals. Let's say it like that because, right, the things that do apply do, the things that don't just don't. But a lot of animals are just a lot different than a lot of other animals is the point with that, okay? But, yeah, we have reshaping bones being possible. It's like the planet, revamping the planet. Revamp's not quite the word, but reconstructing in a sense, rehabilitating. That's a good word. You can use that for the human body or for the planet, for the dogs, like I've done with Dante since rescuing him. Dante's a true rescue. Like I've said, he needed a lot more physical help than I knew he needed when I first rescued him. It's not like I'm like the rescuer, but I, did the act of adopting him because I love him. And then there's a lot that I have been able to do for him through that too, so. You can just see it too, you can see the way he interacts with me, how he actually expresses his gratitude. He speaks it to me in a way that I can understand, well, so easily. It's not like a far-fetched thing like, does your dog speak to you? My dog, Dante, does, certainly. Oh, yeah. And poodles, they're just statistically the second smartest dog breed. They're very human-like in a lot of ways. And so this is the thing. The dogs essentially are the planet. Really, the human being, the natural body we have is essentially the planet, really. We are only what we eat. That's what I mean. You eat anything unnatural. I say this often under In The Image Clothing Company. I have at least before today's date, the 13th of January, 2026. I keep almost saying September. Our founding date was in September, the 23rd of September, 2024, but, when you eat anything unnatural, it's okay. He heard me make that sound, like stuttering through what I was saying, and he's like, whoa, what happened? Good boy, Dante. Dante's like a service dog, and I don't think he's ever been trained to be one. Who knows? I don't know where he came from. Maybe he was in the middle of service dog training before he wasn't anymore. That's possible. I really don't know, but he's amazing. I love Dante. One day he will die. I just say that because we can't get so attached to one dog and then the dog dies and your whole life's ruined. It's still you. Your life is your life. You can add other people into your life for the amount of time you can. but everything leaves except for your body, right? Everything is just what it is on the planet, for example. You only have the one body, you only have the one planet. I mean, this episode could be titled The Only Planet That We Have, right? Instead of For the Planet, like the episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled The Only Thing That We Have Is Our Human Bodies. Well, the only planet that we have is Earth, you know? So let's take care of it. That's what I'm saying. And what I was saying was, you know, we're only what we eat. You eat anything unnatural and your body has to just process it through it without extracting any kind of benefit or nutrients from it. So it actually damages the body. You have to use effort to process it through you, you know, and that's actually just on the other end of benefiting, okay? With no compensation for what the body has to do to process it through. See what I mean? So a big focus with our bodies being the planet is, yeah, I mean, you are, you know, and in the Holy Bible, it says we're pulled from the clay as human beings. Just, yeah, I mean, we are only what we eat. And so we just got to do things for the planet, man. We got to do things to not damage the planet is really the point. I'm not expecting people to go out there and, like, try to better the planet. Just don't ruin the planet. You see what I mean? I'm not expecting anything from anyone, by the way, first off. But when I'm saying this, you know, just giving a discussion under In the Image Clothing Company as the founder in this for life to lead it. Yeah, under In the Image Clothing Company podcast here specifically, you know, God designed this thing, man, this planet, and we just need to take care of it. We got to show some gratitude. You know, all things work together for the good of those that serve God. You know, you do some good things, and good things will just kind of come back around to you. They just will. They just do. That's just how it works. There's just universal laws that line up with the gospel of Jesus Christ. That just literally translates into the good news of God, you know, the designer of everything. There's some things out there, you know, you couldn't deny someone had to design them. We were actually talking about that in Institute tonight. You see how I start to stutter when it gets so real? Yeah, I mean, we watched this little video clip at Institute tonight about this person who's a chemist and like this astronomer. I don't know what the word is to use for that, but he studied like the space and the stars, you know, and all the galaxies out there. And he did chemistry as well. So he's a true scientist, but he you know, he said he believes in God. You know, through the parameters of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I mean, you know, Jesus Christ, God, the Creator. And that's how it works. Like I say, you know, take a deep dive. It might just be called a deep dive or titled a deep dive. The episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast is within the past 10 from this one back, probably. 190s to 200, give or take. Somewhere right around in there. Okay, somewhere right around in there. Numbered episodes of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. I just discussed, you know, in there, and that's just the case. When people take a deep dive, the deeper you dive into something, the harder time you have, like, disputing it. Like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The deeper you dive into it, the more you find out it's true. You can't deny it. You know, the more you find out about something, the more there is. The more evidence, if you will, for it to be proved as true, if you can see what I'm saying. It's like getting down to the bottom of a crime that happened, you know. The more evidence you can have. Gosh, I love this dog so much. Dante. He's just a lot of what I love about him is what I've been able to do for him. I'm just watching him stretch right here, and just the mobility he has is unreal. He might jump up on the bed behind me. Either way, you just see him where you see him. We do so much under the gift of video under In the Image Clothing Company, and I'll have him as long as he lives, you know. So he's probably got at least, well, he could die whenever, but he's probably got about 12 years left in him. Seriously. Yeah. Sounds funny to say like that, but yeah, probably. So what I'm saying, though, with the Earth, is there's just so much happening here, you know, and people just... They know God if they know God, meaning if you want to know God, you can. You know, the deeper you dive into just things as they are, well, God is the truth, and the truth is just something as it is, you know. So, yeah. The planet. You know, there's so much people just don't know about it. A lot of people like to mock people who take care of the planet because they just, you know, are too egoic and big-headed. They call you like a pansy or whatever if you're like a man, for example, and you care about the planet. Well, there's just like different types of people, different groups people assign themselves to on the earth. I try to do everything I can to stay out of any kind of group. I call it the space in between. You just sit there and look at everything, and it's all there. And if you don't assign yourself with any of it, it's still all there. It's like truth is truth, man. And the truth is, we only have one planet. I'm not some kind of like on this side of things or that side of things. I'm on the side of God, the creator of the planet, and me. So I don't even have a say to begin with, right? On like being on some side. God created all the sides of everything too. It's just there's only truth that exists, even if you don't want to believe it, right? You don't need to believe in God is an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast where we discuss God. He's there regardless. You don't have to believe in anything. I don't believe in anything. I say that clearly where I do. I have many times before today's date, the 13th of January, 2026, because yes, it's truth. Because truth is truth. Even if you don't have a belief, stuff still exists, it's still there. Your beliefs aren't going to make things different. Okay? So, as crazy as it sounds, I've said, I don't believe in God. I know God. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled, If You Don't Know God, life can be very hard because there is truth to life, and that's just God, the unchanging. So the planet, we don't want to change it. We don't want to alter the planet. We don't want to damage the planet. We don't want to do more for the planet than we can help, We want to help the planet more than we damage the planet. We just don't want to harm it, ever. If we could live a whole life as a human being and then all of us do that forever without damaging the planet, then that'd be good. Yeah. Right? So that's what I mean is for the planet. This episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, well, we can word it like this. A lot of our focus under In the Image Clothing Company is for the planet. There you go, right? See where the phrasing comes in? A lot of times we just use things as a phrase with our video titles, with the topics, which is essentially a video title as well, right? Of In the Image Clothing Company podcast episodes. We'll just have a phrase, and that phrase will just have a lot of ways we can approach it. So there's a lot of ways we can approach what I mean as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company when I say the words or the phrase for the planet. Even like this, I've thought about it. We got to get our cotton. Cotton? I'm Utah, right? So a lot of times we don't pronounce our T's, but I articulate my words fairly well. A lot more, like I enunciate and pronounce my words a lot more crisply than a lot of Utahns, but then more than a lot of other people as well, because there's a video under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company titled How Clothing Affects Speaking. Speaking is just a physical thing, and In the Image Clothing Company's main site slogan is allowing the body to work, and I'm the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, Evan Strong, and this for life to lead it. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm also a lyricist, though. I'm a rapper. I really truly am a rapper, and I have been for like 10 years. I'm just saying it like that because I know how to work with words well. It's a gift from God personally to me, and I articulate my words fairly well, but cotton, cotton. Anyway, natural, 100% natural materials. 100% natural materials is the goal because it's all that existed until just tens of years ago from today's date. Really? I mean, there was no clothing that was made out of unnatural materials until there was unnatural materials invented. Okay, so cotton. I mean, almost every single one of our clothing items and dog products, where we can have it be, will be made out of cotton. As in the Image Clothing Company. Our logoing and branding will be on the inside of it, okay? So it's minimal and simple. You notice the functionality of the human being wearing the clothing instead of the clothing for like the sake of fashion. It's clothing for the sake of function, okay? Do everything. Clothing. I've said the same thing since the very founding of In the Image Clothing Company. But I'm just giving context because, yeah, I don't discuss that all that often. I haven't in the past months. Our clothing at all, okay? Because that's what I mean. It's not really the focus. I mean, it will be great. We are a clothing company, but it's for the human body. So we put the focus on the human body. The clothing's kind of the middleman. If you never wore clothing, you'd never have to focus on it being centered and fitting on the body at the angles of the ankle. Wow, there you go. Always stop laces at ankle flexion. A video under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company, the angle of the ankle, right? The importance of the proper height socks below the calf muscle of the rear of the lower leg, but above the ankle joint, somewhere in there. That's the proper height sock. okay? To not alter the body of the human being. Anyway, I'm wearing the Zero Shoes branded Ridgeway model boots, as I do fairly often at this time period. Well, pretty darn often. Zero Shoes, man. Good people doing good things. Here's the Denver leather model by Zero Shoes. Okay, the boot. Anyway, good stuff. I also have a Denver canvas black by Zero Shoes somewhere. I know where it is. It's in the van that I currently have access to driving, okay, outside of the room that I'm sitting in right now is where that van is. I'm just giving context. Good people doing good things, right? Shouting people out who I've benefited from them having a company and making products. And that's what I don't want to use the word hope. I don't hope for anything, but that's what I know, that we'll do all that we can do behind the intentions of all of our designs of dog products or human being clothing or any product we ever put out under In The Image Clothing Company. That's our focus, is to have people be saying that kind of stuff about us. Like, yeah, In The Image Clothing Company just makes good products, you know. I just wear their clothing and it fits me well. My body works well. I don't get excessively tired. And in The Image Clothing Company clothing, like I do in some other brands' clothing, you know, with imbalances in it, rotated seams in it, you know, In The Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification. You know, people are like, I didn't even realize you had to do all you could to have 100% natural materials in your clothing until I heard what In The Image Clothing Company was saying, and my life changed, because stretch goes the opposite direction of the only way the muscles in the body work. You know, this is the kind of stuff that people are going to be saying, regardless if I hope it or not. If people come across what we do, they'll come across what we do, and we speak truth. We're imperfect, but we do speak truth. That's our focus, is to do all we can to well, ideally, you know, if we could just only ever speak just truth and nothing else. That's all that exists, you know, but we're just imperfect human beings serving a perfect God. But this is what I'm saying, you know, for the planet. I've been thinking about it, like, where are we going to get our cotton from? I'll say it how I say it. You know, it's kind of unnatural for me, personally, being a Utahn, to say cotton. I just say cotton, you know, but it is what it is. Oh, shoot. You know, but doing it in a way that's like, I don't know. We don't want to get so nitpicky with things to where we feel like we got to like reinvent how things are happening to try to make it even better and better and better and better, more natural, less invasive all the time. Nah, just being intentional, right, is the point. We're not trying to be perfect with anything. We're not trying to reinvent the way that things work. If there's ways that things just work well, we'll just do that, you know, in the times that we do. But also, you know, we'll just do what we do. I'm just saying, we're not trying to get crazy with anything, you know, but being very intentional about where we get our cotton from for like pants and shirts and whatever clothing items we ever have under In The Image Clothing Company, you know, dog products, collars, slip leads, you know, all the ways that we can make things out of something like cotton, and not something like, I mean, that we'll have so much cotton, okay, that we need to be getting from somewhere, you know, just doing what we can to not be getting it from a source or a place or a part of the earth or a company that's not doing what they can and what we can to be intentional, is the point, about not altering or damaging the planet more than is required. Can you see how we can word it like that? You know, Dante, what are you doing, brother? Dante, come. Good. Your eyes could be cleaned out a little bit, but if I do it right now, it'll just be on my fingernails until I rinse them off or something. So, anyway, Dante had a shower today. I mentioned that in here, yeah. So, nice and clean, okay? We will be doing all we can, like I'm saying, just to get things from good places, you know, and it's what I've said all the times I've said it. I've said it many times before today's date, the 13th of January, 2026, under In The Image Clothing Company content. Don't hold us to a higher standard than we could just reach as imperfect human beings, you know, even though we're doing all we can to do good things. If we're not doing things in a way you think we should be, that's your problem, you know. We're going to do what we can to be intentional. That's the focus, just being intentional with what we do. So, that is a point, though, for the planet. I mean, there's just a lot of things that can really, you know, pollute the environment more than we would ever need them to be doing. You can do the exact same things and just have a higher level of intentionality than maybe you otherwise would, and not be altering things as much as you maybe otherwise would. Not be damaging the planet in quite an extent as maybe you otherwise would if you weren't as intentional as you're being, if you can be. Do you see what I mean? I word things carefully. I speak very intentionally. I do. Because I don't want to be saying like some kind of statement like, you know, if we're not being as intentional as we possibly can, and then I don't expect myself to always be intentional as be as intentional as I possibly could. I mean, you live an extremely rigid, strict, crazy life at that point, obsessive over things. No, it's just be very intentional in all the ways you can. That's the point, Yikes. I don't pop my neck all that often anymore. I used to, like, crazy, but, my body's just so much more centered than it used to be, so it's just not really needed. It's not really needed anyway. Shoot, there's so much context to come with stuff like this. Today, Dante and I filmed a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company titled Lifting the Right Side of the Body. Man, it was a beautiful video. A lot of our videos at this time period are right around 1 hour long on the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. I'm usually just standing outside somewhere, discussing things and, showing it visually with my body. We just discuss things in such depth. There's no possible opinion or dispute to what we do. You just don't know what you don't know until you do. We just discuss things so thorough. That's why I said earlier what I did, right? Context over content, Man. Yeah, we give deep context, so you don't have to believe in anything. We just explain it so thorough that you can understand it. That's the goal, is to be able to understand things you're trying to understand, right? Like God, I mean, you draw near to God, He'll draw near to you. You dive deeper into our content, your understandings will deepen. Okay, you've got a problem with us? Cool, stick around. Deeper context brings deeper understandings. That's what I say as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, me, Evan Strong, Yeah, stick around. Dive deep with me if you want to. We're here to dive deep. We got a lifetime of this, and that's what I mean is a lot of it is for the planet. So, yeah, just being intentional, using minimal packaging. We'll be shipping clothing out. Okay, dog products and whatever else we ever do product-wise under In The Image Clothing Company. Just being intentional to not have excessive packing material, excessively thick or bulky packaging if you can just really minimalize it. Again, not getting crazy with it to try to, do as much as we possibly could, on the end of like an extreme. I just mean being very intentional is being very intentional, and that's the focus, Because, yeah, a lot of people just don't realize. It's like what I discussed with eating as the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, just under In The Image Clothing Company when we discuss eating is what I mean. Yeah, so many people are wasting so much food, okay? So many human beings are just eating way more food than they would ever actually need because they don't know how to eat properly. There is a proper way to introduce food to the body. Food's just a foreign object to the human being until it's introduced to it. A lot of the digestion starts in the mouth, right, with the saliva, breaking down carbohydrates and fats. There's a video under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company titled Keeping Air Out of the Digestive System. Eating truths, hydration truths. 2 episodes back-to-back of In The Image Clothing Company Podcast in the teens of numbers, right, in our numbered episodes of In The Image Clothing Company Podcast. So, yeah, a lot of times people are just eating way more than they need to and wasting food. Food's just a resource. And that's the planet. Where's the food coming from? You harvest it from the planet. And so just teaching people how to eat naturally is doing things for the planet. That's what I was meaning, earlier in this when I'm saying, and just when I ever say it, I'm not saying we're out there just doing some huge movements like standing in front of bulldozers. I mean, maybe. I'm not saying we won't do stuff like that. But that's not what the thing really that I mean. Only, at least, yeah, maybe. Why not? If it's needed, it's needed. If it makes sense to do, then it makes sense to do. Times and places, kind of thing. That's what I mean. But I also mean things like just teaching people how to eat, so that we don't have to eat as much food quantity to get the same nutrients, breaking down your food into very, 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 very small pieces so your body can actually extract the nutrients from it. You don't have to eat as much to get the same benefit. You're not just wasting food by a lot of it passing through your body without actually being utilized. So this is stuff that we can do for the planet that may not seem like it's directly for the planet, okay? Things in the body. Some things are directly other things in the body, but everything in the body is indirectly everything else in the body. It's all connected. The planet's all one thing, and we're placed on it. We are the planet. You're only what you've eaten, okay? So doing things for the planet, for the planet. We do a lot of things for the planet. We get people back to the planet. That's what I mean. Poodle Parade events, a lot of it is for people to get, kind of rooted back to their childhood self. That's what dogs do for people. That's what nature does for people. We get people into nature and dogs into nature. Under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, Poodle Parade events, okay? And so, hey, bud, you could use a combing. You got a little bit of matting where your bandana's been around your neck. And slip lead as well. Slip leads, man, they're just so minimal, so great. People got, I'll say this proper, relatively at least. People have a lot of misconceptions about slip leads for dogs. It's essentially just like a lasso for a cowboy, you throw it around a steer or a cow or a horse, as a cowboy, if you will. Anyway, it's just a slip knot around the dog's neck. And so, sure, you could kill a dog with it, but you could kill a dog with anything. Don't kill your dog. Be intentional. Slip leads are great, right? We advocate for slip leads to let the dog stay natural. See what I mean? Context. You got to have some context. You got some misconceptions on things. All you need is some context. You got to clear up the truth. The truth always remains. The planet. Doing things for the planet. Doing things for the planet, is great. So let's do it. Because, yeah, just minimalizing all the things that we use, it's like throwaway kind of stuff. And knowing how to really take advantage in a good way of the limited resources we have. We don't have to focus on things being limited, but just meaning you got to get stuff if you need stuff. And you have to get things less if you use things more fully. See what I mean? I mean, you have to go get food somewhere or grow food or plant food and then grow food. Yeah, but like people who eat meat, you got to grow livestock. Or you got to plant fields. For those of you who eat plants, most people do eat plants, even if they eat meat, It's not that it's like some weird thing. I used to eat meat. But just being vegetarian, I just have a different view on food now. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Vegetarianism. I have a note in my notes titled Food is Fuel. We'll make a video under somewhere, either the main side of In the Image Clothing Company or In the Image Clothing Company podcast at some point, almost certainly titled Food is Fuel. If we don't, well, we just discuss it, right? That's the point of food, is just to fuel the body. And so what I mean is, not that we have to think that there's a limited amount of food, but food is just a resource, right? There's just resources we have on the earth. And once you use up the resources you personally have, you have to get more resources. You've got food in your house, let's say. Once you eat all the food in your house, you got to get more food to put in your house to be able to eat it. And so that's doing things for the planet when we do all we can to fully utilize the resources we have. It's not that we have to do some big movement. You are cute, Dante. You do have matting around where your slip lead and your bandana have been. Dante's hair right now is cut to 3/8 of an inch in length, which is a good length. A good universal, year-round, do everything kind of length. The shorter you get the hair, too, the less matting or like tangles in the hair you can have even possibly happen. There's just less hair to tangle up for poodles with letting dogs stay natural and In the Image Clothing Company poodles. Or I guess other dog breeds as well that grow hair rather than fur, that would apply to. But what I'm saying with the movements is we don't have to necessarily do like these big movements. Well, there's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Just for Show. And we don't want to be doing things just for show, right? Just to show off to other people, just to have other people see what we're doing, We just do things to do things. If we're doing good things, we're doing good things. Meaning, don't just do things to do things. But if you're doing good things, just do the good things to be doing good things. Don't do it for someone else to see. That's what I mean. A lot of movements end up becoming things that people just want other people to look at, Well, I was saying something earlier similar to that where, where people just kind of over time start doing things because other people were doing things. They just kind of jump on a trend, you know? And I was just making it clear that's not what we are doing as in the Image Clothing Company. Even things that you may not think align with a clothing company like this, things for the planet. Nah, I mean, we're just doing things how we do things. The focus has been what the focus has been since the very founding, allowing the body to work. Well, there's a lot that has been coming with that since the very start, more than even just that. Definitely not just a clothing company here, by any means, right? I kind of forget sometimes. I definitely have many times in the past, almost 16 months as of today's date, the 13th of January, 2026, that we're even a clothing company. It's like, I kind of have to remember that we're going to have clothing for sale at some point, and we will. It'll be great. It'll be really, really great. But even when we do, I'll still wear clothing items that say things like Utah on them, stuff about Utah. That's what I was showing there earlier. For the sake of the planet, okay? Things for the planet. I love the way I say that. Yeah, because that's the focus. With things for the planet is, just the focus is the planet. The focus is having clean air to breathe and clean water. Having the animals not be damaged by the human beings. Having the landscape not be changed by the human beings. Having permanent graffiti done to like rock formations that have been there for, basically ever, for lack of, a way right now to explain when these rock formations got formed. Do you see what I mean? Way before any of us were born. So this is what I mean by for the planet, is just having an intentional lifestyle where we're taking care of the earth. It's like, we could say for the dogs. You can have a dog the way that you just live on the planet Earth. You can just not take good care of your dog, or you could very intentionally do things for your dog. Taking care of our dogs. The only episode I filmed on the trip down to St. George, Utah that I had in November of 2025. Okay? The only episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast I filmed down there in those 2.5, give or take, weeks. Yeah, right? There's a difference between providing for your dog and taking care of your dog. There's a difference between living on planet Earth and being intentional about planet Earth. See what I mean? It's about the intentionality. So don't believe me. Don't even care about anything I say, but care about the planet because you're on it, and you have to be. Unless you're really going to go somewhere else, then talk to me after you do it, I guess. So I don't really care to hear from you, but just meaning don't make claims if you can help it, right? This is our planet, is what I mean. It's not like you can just say, well, we'll just go to Mars. If you do, you do. But until then, you're here. And not only that, but everybody else is. And what you do affects them, So things for the planet, it's the simple stuff. You don't have to be out there doing like missionary trips necessarily, where you're, doing things for the elephants. I'm not mocking that because that's great, but I'm just saying that's not something you personally have to do to be able to, just love the earth. You don't have to love the earth, but you sure probably love to be able to breathe if you care to be alive. Breath is the essence of human life. It takes the entire body to some degree to stabilize, and every single breath we take, the jaw plays the biggest role in stabilization. Okay, but that's what I mean is disposable things, try not to use them. If you can have something that you use be not disposable. Or just if you use something that's disposable, use it like multiple times. Like Dante's little bags that I use to pick up his doo-doo. Right, when Dante, I don't have a dog named Dante currently. When Dante, my standard poodle here, that's him. For those of you in audio only, that's me patting on his rear left leg. When Dante goes potty, and I pick it up. He whipped his head around and looked at me. I pick it up in a little bag, they're just, you can buy at the store little bags they make intentionally for you to pick up your dog's feces with. And I use one of those bags about 4 times. If it can fit in the bag, it can fit in the bag, and I'm not, I don't, at least at this time period, I haven't been trying to fill the bag to the very top before I, can barely tie a knot in it and then throw it away. But I use it 4 times. That's what I've been doing the past couple weeks, at least, from today's date back, the 13th of September. I said it again, September. The 13th of January, 2026 is today's date. Yeah, the past couple weeks, give or take, I've been really focusing on that. I'm like, yeah, 4 times. That's a good number to fit in this bag without trying to excessively use the bag, to where it's just kind of like, this is just, I'm going over the top with trying to, make this have its full use. But you can very, very easily, with the bag that I have, that I bought just, it's like 120 bags in this package. I can very easily pick up Dante's feces 4 different times. Like 4 different times he uses the bathroom, right? Bowel movement, whatever you want to call it, the scat of the poodle. Okay, really, I just want to be as real as it is. I want to hit the point hard because this is what it means to do things for the planet. You don't have to do some kind of huge gesture for some community and have it be what you think it has to be to take care of the earth. But this is you taking care of the earth, and it's not just on a small level. This is truly what it means to take care of the earth. I use Dante's little bag 4 different times. I pick up 4 different feces. Of Dante's with the same bag before I actually tie it and throw it away, right? Well, I mean, I kind of tie it loosely between each time, so it just, stays pretty well encapsulated in the bag. But why? Not. Why not? I mean, I can use 4 times less bags that way than if I were to just pick up one of Dante's, times that he goes potty and throw the bag away each time. It's not an inconvenience to me. No, it's more convenient. It costs less money. I have to, there's less bags that I have to purchase. 4 times less bags. It's 4 times cheaper for me to do something for the planet through that. Do you see what I mean? That's what we mean. And that's what I mean too by when I say we preach what we have practiced under In the Image Clothing Company. I'm not sitting here thinking okay, I've heard that people do some huge things for the environment. Let's all do it. It's like, nah, we live an intentional lifestyle. We're continually trying to do better and better all the time that we can. Let's talk to you guys about what we do. And let's, as a community or the company that we are as In the Image Clothing Company, very clearly not a business. We're a company, right? Let's not focus on what we are not, but we're very clearly worded a company, not a business. There you go. Okay, let's say it on the end of focusing on what we are. Because, what I am going to do is clean out Dante's eye a little bit. Yuck. Not that it's all that gross, but it's just now on my thumbnail. That's why I said, I was probably going to wait until I can rinse off my hands after. I'm not all that grossed out by it at all, but still, where am I going to put this, Just the stuff from his eye. Anyway, doing things for the planet. Anyway, yeah, it is what it is. I don't really care. It's just natural. Truly, it is. Even though it may seem gross to some people, it's natural. It's just the eye lubrication of Dante's. It kind of gets stuck in the hair that's around his eye there as it just comes from his tear duct. All right? It's as real as it gets, man. It's just what it is. And what he is a good boy. He needs some help with some things, There's a video on In the Image Clothing Company Poodles titled something. Anyway, our dogs can't groom themselves is what it's titled. We just have to help our dogs with things because we've domesticated them. We did it, so we got to help them. They can't do it on their own once we have brought them into our care, through breeding and stuff too. We've taken away their natural instincts to the degree that we have. And also they just don't have access to things unless we feed them and unless we give them water. hydration. We talk about hydrating dogs properly under In the Image Clothing Company poodles, human beings too, on In the Image Clothing Company's main side with allowing the body to work. But anyway, for the planet, just doing things for the planet. Yeah, I mean that's a big thing. That's not just a small gesture. I mean, the word gesture, that works. I mean that's just what's been coming out because it's a gesture to God. It's a gesture to our earth to take care of it. It's not just a small gesture. It's a big thing. As much as it may not seem like it to some, to just use something like Dante's little doo-doo bags 4 times rather than just once per bag, right? That's 4 times less bags we're throwing away. So that's what I mean, is stuff like that. And that's what I was saying with stuff like me, the founder, Evan Strong is my name, of In the Image Clothing Company. That's what we'll always have our team do, In the Image Clothing Company's team. It's not like, hey guys, we expect you to just come up with some big project on how you can change the whole planet for the better. It's like, nah, well, you guys are here at work, it's not going to seem like work, In the Image Clothing Company's team. Okay, but yeah, we're working toward the cause of the company that we are. Can you see what I'm saying? But yeah, like, well, you guys are here, well, you guys are with us, because our work as In the Image Clothing Company isn't just going to be like, come in the morning, you do your work, you leave at night. Our team members, they're team members. They're not employees. Under In the Image Clothing Company, we've got a lot that we're doing. A lot of it will be, moving around to different locations than just our building through events, and just adventures that we do and video under the gift of video. And then that is us working as well. Making the videos we do makes the things we do available to people across the entire planet, because we have the internet in modern day, and going forth we will have some way, almost certainly, I can't guarantee personally, but of sharing videos across the earth still, and even more conveniently as time progresses, almost certainly. So, that's a big part of what we do. Like I'm saying, that's us working. Every video we make, that's work in like the most direct way you could explain it, because of why we do it and what we're doing through the gift of video as In the Image Clothing Company. And so that's us doing things for the planet as well, us sharing what we do in the Image Clothing Company's team, even if it's not events that we have other people come to, just our team going out and doing cool stuff in nature under the gift of video with our poodles for the planet. That's doing things for the planet by what we're personally directly doing, but then also us just sharing that through the gift of video for everyone across the entire earth. That's us doing things for the planet, because then it gives people awareness, understanding, and ideas of what they can do for the planet and what's happening with the planet if they're not intentional. A lot of people just don't really have any idea what's going on. That's a big point. We just don't know what we don't know. And a lot of times people have no idea where stuff comes from, Yeah, I mean, that's the yeah, where does it come from? You'll probably hear that phrase under In the Image Clothing Company going forth. I've just got some ideas with that, because we just don't know where things even come from a lot of the time. We look at something like a shoe, for example. It's like, this is a shoe. Well, let's talk about Zero Shoes, the brand, with this specific shoe here. It's like, this is a Zero Shoes branded Denver leather model. Well, where does this come from? It's like, well, it's a shoe. It came from a factory. Well, where does it come from? Anyway, that's what I mean is, and then you get deeper and deeper and deeper with it. Zero Shoes are doing great things. I'm not trying to criticize them and like, where do they get all their products, materials from? I don't know. They're intentional where they are, probably. They're I love Zero Shoes, the brand. That's why I chose that. I could have chose anything else I could have grabbed here right next to me to talk about. But I've just been discussing Zero Shoes, the brand, since the very founding of In the Image Clothing Company. Good people doing good things. So, but you can just take anything in life, and a lot of people have no idea where something's coming from. And a lot of times things are coming from places that are really damaging the planet because of the lack of intentionality. Like I'm saying, you can have the same products being designed and created without damaging the planet, when maybe they otherwise would be if we're intentional, okay? It's just about intentionality, okay? It's for the planet. It's for the planet. The intentionality that we can have, it's for the planet, It's for us though. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. It comes back around and helps us. The things we do for the planet help the people on the planet, and you're one of the people on the planet that did something for it. It comes back around to you in a good way. Okay. Anyway, there's a lot that we'll do, and a lot as a company, a lot as our team, In the Image Clothing Company's team. And I talk about events, and we'll have events where we involve other human beings, but we'll do a lot of events as just our team. And I've made this clear too, but In the Image Clothing Company's team, we'll just be a tight-knit family of cool people. Cool people meaning good-hearted, loving, great, God-fearing people. And we'll do a lot that we'll share with you through the gift of video. So you can be very much involved even though you're not physically, personally there with us. It's the gift, man. It's the gift of video. So, yeah, it's not like a selfish thing. Like I'm talking about, yeah, we're going to do all these cool things and you guys aren't invited if you're not part of our team. You're invited through video, man. I mean, I just know how awesome it is to be able to watch people do things. And I've talked about this, Video is amazing. Stuff you'd never personally do, but you can watch others do. It's basically like you're doing it. That's how I've felt personally. And that's how I feel. Watching movies people have made, documentaries people have done, and then just, things like daily vlogs. That's been a common thing, in the past 10 years, give or take. 10 to 15 years too, but stuff like this where you just get to witness things and experience things kind of vicariously, but it's also direct at the same time. When you're watching a video, you're watching it. I mean, you're seeing it, you're experiencing it, and it's really cool to be able to do that. So much information can be given through video, and so much. Yeah, we could have an In the Image Clothing Company podcast episode titled "The Gift of Video." We might someday, because certainly that'd be an amazing one to have. A lot of deep context on that could be given by me, yeah. Oh, yeah. I love video, man. So, for the planet, right? That's the thing, just giving awareness for the planet. Even if we're not seeming like we're doing much directly for the planet, us giving awareness about the planet is us doing things for the planet. Us finding out about things that are going on and then just giving awareness about it, not focusing on problems. That's what I mean. Similar to what I was saying earlier about sometimes people put the focus in the wrong spot, do things for the wrong reasons. We're not trying to say like anything about how much damage is happening to the planet. It's on the other end. We advocate for doing good things for the planet, even if it never had any damage done to it. On In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, we advocate for properly breeding purebred dogs before we'd ever advocate for adopting dogs from shelters. If you can keep dogs out of shelters in the first place, you'd never need an animal shelter to begin with, right? You'd never need to, what was the word we used earlier? Recoup? Rehabilitate, okay? Revamp, I said, but these kind of words, you never need to redo, in a sense, right? Anything for the planet if we never damaged it as human beings. So the focus is always just doing good things for it, not ever focusing on anything problem-wise that's happening. I took a snippet today from the video titled "Lifting the Right Side of the Body" on In the Image Clothing Company Poodles. Dante and I filmed today, right? The 13th of January, 2026. The snippet was titled "Focus on the Solution." If it's still somewhere you can find it, then you can find it. But it was just funny. The way it just came out. It just sounded so cool. That's what I'm saying here. We just focus on the planet, and that's the solution. The solution is just to focus on the planet always, no matter what. Do things for the planet, even if it's not like we're trying to do things to get the planet back to how it was. Just do things that are good for the planet, always. Even if it doesn't seem needed. Even if it's not like, well, nothing's even damaged yet. Well, it's still just do things for the planet. I mean, it's like your body. You don't just wait until you're sick and go to the doctor before you ever do something for your body. You live an intentional life for your body. You live an intentional life for the planet. And then ideally, you have problems come up. I mean, everything's out of our control. Things happen in God's timing, in God's ways. His ways are higher and holier than ours, and perfect, in fact. In fact, who's to say? God is, don't believe me, but God is. And always. The same, yesterday, today, and forever. The planet would have always stayed the same until human beings came. I mean, I understand things change where they do. Animals kill other animals. Natural disasters happen naturally, and the planet can change like that. But those are natural things. Unnatural is what human beings cause to happen, okay? So I'm just saying, dude. Dante, I'm just saying, He knows. I just say some things to him sometimes. We'll just be like out there walking. I'm just saying things. I'm not talking directly to him. Praying to God, like verbally out loud. Sometimes I'm just saying things. I'm not just saying stuff. I'm speaking some words, right? God is the word. What I mean is just, let's do things for the planet. Can we? But in our small little ways, let's make a big change. Make some waves and don't go astray. Sometimes I'm on both ends of stuff, I don't sit on either side of anything. I'm not on the fence, but wow. I love this. That's what I'm saying is, so a lot of times I'll mock things, but I also am like talking about how good they are at the same time. Like, yeah, be the change, but don't like be the change, just be a good person. Don't go out there and like try to make waves, but make waves, just be a good dude doing a good thing, or be a good person, even if you don't want to call yourself a dude. I don't know, maybe you're a man or a woman, and maybe dude isn't even something that means either one of those things. I don't know what that word really means. But I say it sometimes. I say it where I do. What I'm saying is, let's just do things for the planet for the sake of just being a good person. Not trying to be a hero. See, I'm mocking it. As I'm making an entire episode about doing it. Isn't it funny? Let's sit on both sides of something so we can be on neither side. Neither side, not either side. And that's the same thing. Worded two different ways. Just to be clear. I like to be very clear. That's what I was saying, right? When I was playing Red the guitar at the beginning, there's just a little freestyle of music there. I like to be very clear. So just to be clear, yeah, we've been doing the same thing since the founding. We've been focusing on the planet since the very founding. God puts a lot of focus on the family since the very founding of the existence of anything. God is the family. God's the heavenly Father. He's the only begotten Son, and he's the spirit of love between them. The Trinity, right? God is the family. God puts a lot of focus on the family because there's no family if there's no family. No family to focus on if it doesn't exist. No planet to do things for if we destroy it. So let's do things for the planet. Let's do things for the planet. And this is the thing, the more natural your body gets, it's like what I say, not because I say it, don't believe me, but the truth is there's no opinion to natural, right? I say natural is the goal on all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. The goal is natural. I think that's an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, actually. The goal is natural. I'm pretty sure. Something like that about natural. One of those, relative first ones, I don't know how I don't know where exactly, maybe around like 30, 40, 50, somewhere in there, numbers of episodes, give or take. I don't know for sure. That's what I mean. I don't even know what it's titled for sure. I just know that I did one discussing natural, but we just talked about that. Natural is not an opinion. It's not like a thing you can choose from. It's the goal under all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company because it's the only thing that actually exists. Everything was always only natural until we created. And we don't create things as human beings, but until we took things that God already made, all the natural things, and we unnaturally combined them, through excessive heat, for example, and just factories and, processes, refining things, which that word doesn't really go along with what's actually happening. We call it refining, like oil. We make it unnatural, I mean, really, it's an unnatural process is what I mean, to do stuff like that. So what I'm saying is there's no goal, there's no goal if there's no goal, and the goal is natural. That's not really what I mean. But yeah, there's no goal if there's no goal. The goal is eternal life through Jesus Christ, resurrective redemption power seriously, okay? But yeah, the goal is natural because there's no opinion to natural. And so what I mean with our bodies is the more we get our bodies back to natural, that's what we do under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company with getting out of chronic patterning through scar tissue, bone spurs, and patterning of any kind built up in the body, and not just through clothing only, through the right-handed world, but clothing patterns themselves are right-handed. 85% give or take of human beings are right-handed, Anyway, we get imbalanced. There's a center line to gravity, there's a center line to the body. Getting our bodies back to natural, getting out of patterning, breaking up bone spurs and scar tissue in the body from incorrect workings for years, decades, potentially a lifetime. As we get our bodies more back to their only workings, which is synonymous with their natural workings, right? Meaning the same thing, natural, neutral, and normal, like I'm saying. We'll just get more connected with things. We'll be more connected with our food we eat, with the liquid we intake to hydrate us, with the planet that we're walking on, because our feet can actually work if we unalter them. Okay, the importance of zero drop shoes, the term zero drop in any brand of shoe is just the surface of the earth. The feet have a neutral from pointing the toes, plantar flexion, to lifting the toes, or dorsiflexion. That's the surface of the earth. Horizontal, which is perpendicular with the vertical pole of gravity, right? That's the bottom of our feet. That's the only way they work. The top of the feet is in the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique. That's the way you shape a weave of a rope across the top of the feet, at least, and that's the only way the feet are shaped. There is only one way the feet are shaped. There is only one way the feet work. The feet only work barefooted, keeping feet in the outside of shoes, keeping heels on the ground, patterning in the feet. Anyway, those are videos under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company about the feet as of today's date, the 13th of January 2026. Those are only some of the videos about the feet specifically under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company as of today's date, the 13th of January 2026. What I'm saying is, yeah, the more we get our bodies back to natural, well, it's getting them back to natural. It's not like you're trying to do something. You're just unaltering your body after it's potentially been altered. And it's been altered, but to the degree that it has, that's what varies from human to human. Depending on where you live on the earth, that's a big one. People who live in something like a rainforest or on an island somewhere, not wearing shoes very often, not wearing all that much clothing, eating food straight from the land, those people don't have their bodies as altered as people living in like a really densely populated city environment. They call it a concrete jungle sometimes, flat concrete, tile, hardwood flooring, even just short carpet, unnatural things for the feet, unnaturally flat tabletops, counters, desks, unnatural lighting. That's what I mean. The goal is natural because it's the only thing that exists. And so as we get our bodies back to natural, good boy, Dante. Well, like Dante has, okay? And like people's dogs will do when they look at what we do under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles with letting dogs stay natural. Okay, there you go. Shoot, that's cool, man. I'm in this for life, right? Don't believe me? Check out what's going on. See the fruits that have come from the labor that I've put in, right? That's what we say, the fruits of the labor. You put in labor to plant a tree, nourish the tree, have the tree grow, and you take care of it as it does, and then the fruit comes. So now you've got something to show for the work you've put in. Look at the fruit that I have from all the work that I've put in up until today's date, the 13th of January, 2026. What I'm saying is we do things for the planet. And a lot of that just will naturally come as our bodies get more natural again. Back to is the point, right? Undoing what we have done, back to natural. We get our bodies, and at that point, well, and through the process, right? Because I don't know where you could say an endpoint to that is, but just through the process of doing this, it's a lifelong process. Like getting closer to God is a lifelong process. It's not like you just did it at one point and you're done. It's a step-by-step, line upon line, precept upon precept kind of thing, just a little bit at a time, here a little, there a little. You get closer and closer to what your goal is. The goal is Jesus Christ. The goal is natural. All right? Designed in the image of God. Jesus, the Christ, is God. So that's what I'm saying. We'll just naturally be more connected with the earth when we can actually feel it under our feet, after we get out of these shoes that have really altered our feet for so many years. And back to zero drop the term in shoes, and having our feet have their natural dexterity and their neutral to flexion, dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, natural gripped arches, opposing the center line of the human body at its foundation, gripping inward and keeping the body vertical on Earth's gravity. So this is what I mean. Keeping the body natural is the goal. Getting back to natural, though, as you do it, you'll just naturally do things more for the natural Earth to keep the Earth natural. The goal is natural. Natural. How many times can I say natural? Probably a lot. I could probably say natural a whole bunch of times. I have in this episode alone of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast, episode 203, titled For the Planet. Because you'll just have a better connection with the food you eat, better connection with the ground you walk on, better connection with the things you have in your life, because you'll be able to actually physically, tangibly feel them better. Your nervous system will work better in your body. Your sense of touch, no joke, you'll just be more working. Let's say it like that. You'll be more working. Your body will work better. There's only one way the human body could ever work. If you want to alter it, it's working. If it's altered, it's altered from its only workings. See how we can use words because they only mean what they mean? So for the planet. If we do things for our bodies, we'll naturally just do things more for the planet than we otherwise would, with our bodies damaged. So this is what I'm saying. In the Image Clothing Company, we didn't change up. We've been the same since the founding, but we just kind of have to make some things clear on what it means to be this 5-word name. Our 5-word name is an episode of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast title, okay? In the Image Clothing Company. There's 5 there. 5 words. No spaces between them. All caps. Well, depends, maybe. But capital letters it's just what it is. Put all caps at the beginning of God if you're discussing Jesus Christ. God, right? All caps. That's the point. That's why I said all caps. Just to focus on, let's just do things intentionally. let's title things properly. Let's use the resources we have intentionally. Let's only try to do all that we can to only say what we mean, right? How to be bold, an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast, in all the ways you can, being an imperfect human being equal to all the other human beings out there. Speak only truth, right? Only things that you really know to be what they are and what you're saying they are. Then you can be as bold as you want if you're speaking things correct. Okay? It's not a me versus you. It's the human being and the human condition, if you will, versus the truth. It's not me versus you on who's going to help the planet. It's the natural man being an enemy to God, doing unnatural things to the planet. Okay? Unless we yield to the enticings of the Holy Spirit of God, naturally the human being just is desirous and lustful and wants things for themselves, because we are conditional human beings. What's ironic about this is, even though we're conditional human beings, we often don't use our resources thoroughly, well, and intentionally. And so we end up, lacking, if you will, resources if we're not intentional about our resources. We'll never be lacking anything if we're serving God. But if we're serving God, we're going to be intentional about the resources God gave us. You see how this works? You see how it always comes back to God? You see how good things always work for the good of those that are good, and those that are good are serving God. God's the goodest of all the good. Yes. Today's the 13th of January, 2026. This is In the Image Clothing Company Podcast, episode 203. 203, brother. 203, we've been doing this a long time. Seems like it. Time flies, man. Time flies. All of a sudden you feel like the planet's all healthy. Next thing you know, species are going extinct because of us as human beings. We got to do things for the planet. Time flies. You think you got all the time in the world to correct things that you're doing that are wrong. You don't. Neither do I, is what I'm saying. We're just the same. We're human beings. And we just got to do all that we can to just be intentional. It always comes back to that word intentionality. I'm just one of them. One of the many people out there doing what I can, where I can, to just serve God. What does it really mean to serve God? Sure, go to church on Sundays. Sure, take the sacrament, right? The sacrament is an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast. Sure, pray to God in the name of Jesus Christ. Sure, read the Word of God. That's an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast. Read the Word of God. Do all these things, yes. But what does it really mean to serve God? It means you're a human being and you don't only have a life that exists on Sunday, but the rest of the 6 days in the week as well, all 7 of them. Right? Not just the day of rest, but all the rest of the days that are left, all 6 of them, in addition to the 7th. Just do all you can to be intentional. Be kind and careful, take care of the planet. Do things for the planet. The way that you do things for your wife, if you're the husband, or do things, the way you do things for your husband if you're the wife, the way you do things for your kids if you're the parent and you love your kids, the way you do things for your dogs if you love your dogs, the way I do things for Dante, my current standard poodle. One day Dante will die, as will I, is the point, right? We just got to realize what's going on, because the planet will just continue on as long as it does, outlive all of us as far as I know, right? And so the way that we take care of the planet is like the way we take care of our wife, for the men out there. The way you take care of your husband, for the women out there. The way you take care of your kids. The way you take care of your dogs. The way you take care of your family members. The way you take care of something that you really care about and cherish. Cherish it. An episode title of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast. The way you take care of something you love. That's what we got to do when we title this how we do, and we're discussing it as we are, right? Doing things for the planet. I'm not saying you got to do some kind of crazy thing that's inauthentic to you so you feel like you might be contributing to taking care of the planet. But I just mean the things you're already doing in your life. And also, I don't mean for you to have to listen to my words and do anything I say at all. Just to be clear, I've said that in this, but I don't think I'm trying to tell you what to do. I'm telling you what's going to help you. Because we're all on the same earth. But what I mean is just do what you can to be intentional. And I'll do the same, that's the thing. It's always just like, let's collectively try to get to a more godly lifestyle. But we got to know who God is to know what a godly lifestyle is. So you read the Word of God. Go to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, man. All visitors welcome. If you don't know what it is yet, go check it out from the source, though. Don't go to someone else to try to figure out what it is. Go to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But as you do, there you go. Learn who God is, and then we can learn how to serve God. God served us by making this planet for us. It says in the beginning, in the first book of the Holy Bible, the book of Genesis, discusses the creation of the world. God created the whole earth and all its inhabitants for us, human beings, so we can have government over it, stewardship over it. What I mean by government is so that we can govern over the earth, so that we can have dominion over it. God has dominion over us and the earth, but we have dominion over the earth. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast titled A Dog to God. Yeah, there is. It hits me. It's so real. Because, the way we have dominion over our dogs is the way that God has dominion over us. It's kind of like we're a dog to God, the way that we own dogs as domesticated animals. Do you see what I mean? If you don't, there's more context on that in that episode of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast. A dog to God. I love it. That's a really hard-hitting, beautiful one. Just such a universally understood one. Well, that's what truth is. It's universal, but the big focus is to try to explain everything that we can in a way that can be universally understood to the best of what we can have it be. Because we're all the same. Even if it doesn't seem like it. We're all equals, even if it's hard to see, too. So, yeah, or even if it doesn't seem like it to anyone, So anyway, for the planet, we got to just do things for the planet where and as we do. And that's what's so cool about St. George, Utah is it's natural, man. I mean, it's a desert and it's a rock. It's a lot of places are so like dirt. A lot of places on the earth, it's a lot of dirt. A lot of other places on the earth, it's a lot of rock. A lot of places on the earth, it's just a lot of ice. You see what I mean? Environment-wise, St. George, Utah, and the surrounding areas, in Utah in itself as well, just being the desert that it is, it's so rocky. We're on the Rocky Mountain range here in Utah, in the United States of America. So much rock, like true rock, granite, sandstone, whatever other kind of rocks there are. There's a lot of sandstone in St. George, Utah. There's a lot of volcanic rock around here as well, though, too, because that's, the mountains, that's kind of just how it happens, Yeah, well, I mean, through earthquakes and stuff, but through volcanoes and through things just happening the way they do. some big lakes here in Utah. Anyway, there's a lot of rock. It's a very rocky state in the United States of America. What I'm saying is it really helps us get rooted and grounded. I mean, down there in St. George, Utah, man, these rocks, man, you can literally just feel it. Even if you don't claim to be spiritual or anything like that, you can physically feel it. The groundedness that comes with the rocky nature of Utah. St. George, Utah, man, those sandstone rocks. That's what it's called, yeah? Sandstone, those red rocks. The rocks are red, down there. A lot of them. I mean, you just have like mountainsides of red rock. You just got big old slick rock, they call it. You just feel so... Well, what I mean is you don't have to be all spiritual. The literal wording, grounded. You are grounded, right? On the ground, on the bedrock, on the hard rock. Firm ground is an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Words only mean what words mean. I was like, we're getting close to the last of my breath for that sentence without breathing in again. I was like really trying to get through that because that's hard hitting. Words just mean what words mean. You don't have to be religious. You don't have to be spiritual. You don't have to have a belief in anything. I don't believe in anything. Truth is truth. It grounds you to be on the ground. It brings you back to a state of rootedness, the way that trees root themselves into the ground when you get into nature. And dogs are just animals. Naturally, they just exist. Domesticated dogs are still just animals, okay? That's what I mean. Doing things for the planet. Through the poodles, man. Dante helps us as one of our many poodles we will have, right? As one of our team members under In the Image Clothing Company. He does things for the planet with us. Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, he does them with us. As far as like he's with us while we do them. Dante does a lot for me personally. As my dog, man, he really does. Some people don't understand that, but we debunk a lot of myths too, under In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, as well as just all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company where we do. When you get down to truth, there's no myth to truth. You squash every debate that could ever exist with truth. That's what I say, well, that's what happens, but I say it to make it known and understood what can happen if you live a life doing all you can to align it with the truth of God, or with God who is the truth, right? Just with truth in general. You can measure truth, like we were saying, right? Measuring truth. You can't dispute it. Mathematics is universal. Physics is universal. Physics is a type of mathematics. Mechanics is universal. The human body is just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space. It's universal. So is Dante. He's just a mechanical machine. He's a standard poodle. Well, there you go, right? A rock in space. It's just the planet. Doing things for the planet, yeah. Being grounded on the rock, firm ground, right? Rooted, like the trees. It's natural. The goal is natural under all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. This is what I mean. When you get down to truth, it's all of a sudden just everything. The truth of all things. The gospel or good news of Jesus Christ, who is God, right? That's what we do here. We discuss the gospel of Jesus Christ under In the Image Clothing Company podcast as one of the fourths of In the Image Clothing Company. I'm in this for life to lead it. I'm on tempo even when I'm not on tempo. Even that, I stuttered through it. And I still made it like musical. It just is what it is. We do a lot off tempo without a care in the world on In the Image Clothing Company music because the goal is natural. Shoot. Sorry. Hand. Smacked my hand with my other hand. Anyway, I want to eat some food. I'll probably go eat some food. I'm going to go eat some food, so that's what I'll do once I cut this. Unless I die on the way to do it or something. Then cool. Don't trust me. Don't believe me. I can't hold up to my end of the deal even if I want to. I'm a conditional human being. I might die. I'll tell you I'll do something good for the planet, and then I maybe do something not so good for the planet, Why not? Well, because it's not so great to. But why do it? Because I'm imperfect, right? It just is what it is. It's about the intentionality. How many sides am I on? How many sides are there to me? Am I delusional? No. Yes. Am I crazy? Well, Now I don't even know where I went. Oh shoot, right? He is. He's out of it. This guy's just crazy, man. He's in a delusion. He thinks he's got a company that's going to be successful when just about nobody knows of it as of the 13th of January 2026, and he's filmed 203 episodes as of this one of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Nah, stick around, bro. I'm in this for life. I'm enduring to the end as God commands me to. Truth is truth. Good things take time. The Long Haul, an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast, is actually titled The Long Game. Yeah, either way. I'm going to haul this thing all the way down to the hallway. The end of the hallway is a long place away from where I'm standing, so take a deep dive with me if you want, because I'm not here for some flash in the pan, quick, immediate success, gratification out the window. Once it's here, it's gone. I'm here until I'm gone, and I'm not yet. So while I'm here, I'm just going to keep documenting what's going on, and we'll just do some things for the planet. In the Image Clothing Company is what I have personally founded. I am in this for life to lead it. Because it's good to do that, okay? To be really in something. If you're going to do something, do it well. You know, the best that you can. I'm imperfect, and I've got all sorts of ups and downs to me all the time that I do. But who doesn't? Well, we all do. I literally just got hit with the Spirit of God in the most beautiful way as I said that. Just the way I said that. I mean, I speak some harsh things sometimes, you know. I talk about stuff like being in the back of the bus, and I say like, you know where that comes from if you know where that comes from, you know. And what I mean by that is just like we speak on things that sound so harsh that a lot of people don't understand, you know. We talk about like racial divisions. We talk about well that just happen and always have, you know, since the beginning of human beings, gender divisions and inequality in ways like this, you know, political stuff we just laugh at because it always changes, you know. Opinions and views I mock and beliefs because there's only truth. This is what I mean, you know. We just speak things so harsh under In the Image Clothing Company, and I just yell so often. I don't even know why I'm saying this right now. Like, it's great. I don't even know what, if I was just kind of given that context. Maybe that's it, you know. The point is, we're not on some side of something. We're on God's side. And there's no side to God. God is omnipotent. God is almighty. God is infinite and universal. God is unchanging and ever present. So you can't even have a side to God. I could be on all the sides and not actually be on any one of them at the same time because that's how the Spirit of God dwells within everything, but He is only one God, right? I mean, that's what I mean. Don't believe anything, but we can explain things in a way that's undisputed, so there's truth to life, and that's undisputed. You can measure it, you know. You can just measure what's happening to the planet. We don't put focus on that kind of stuff, well, unless it just makes sense to do it, but it's never going to help to focus on problems. It's always just focusing on the solutions. It's always focusing on what we can do personally, you know, and then personally as a collective as well. So, yeah, for the planet, yeah, is our focus. Thank you. We'll cut it, I guess, if we do. I'm just very content with that. I'm so grateful for the way I can explain things. You know, man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be, you're just a human being. When we discuss where clothing sits and our two prerequisites to not alter the body under In the Image Clothing Company, we say them where we do, many places, just times and places, you know, it just happens where it does. But because we do it so much, we don't have to do it every time we make a piece of content. You know, we just are adding. We're putting another brick in the Image Clothing Company's building, physically, metaphorically, however it is, wherever it is. But yes, we're just building this as we do continually, right? And we'll just never stop. Wow. Meaning, me speaking for myself as the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, though, I speak as the company okay, out of my own self. I say it as a we. Well, and it's Dante and I. I mean, there is two literal beings as team members as of today's date. You know, since I've had Dante a little over a month now. But yeah, right. We, meaning In the Image Clothing Company. I, meaning Evan Strong, I'm not going to stop adding to this until I'm not here anymore to do it in this physical state of my current life. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, I just keep going. So there you go. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.